Hey everybody, welcome to AFTERBUZZ TV's after show for NBC's new series Game of Silence. Tonight we'll be recapping Season 1, Episode 3, and we have a very special guest, Nikki Tomlinson, in the studio live, so stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Shall we sway again?
Yeah, no,
Always start with the sway.
hey, Nikki's swaying with us too.
Yes.
But hers has a little sass to
That's
it.
right.
Maybe we
Musical
get
theater major.
a remix for the song next week so we can turn it up a little bit here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in again. We are talking about NBC's new series Game of Silence. I'm Miaira Jennings. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Miaira Jennings, and I am joined by my lovely panel of co-hosts here.
Hey guys, Leslie Ambriz here. You can follow me on Twitter at In Less Than No Time, and Les has just one S.
Hey guys, I'm Abby Vega. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at _Abby Vega.
And I'm Nikki Preston. You can find me on Facebook and Twitter at Nikki Preston TV and Instagram at Nikki.Preston.
And let's throw it to our special guest over here. Where can they find you, Nikki?
Hi, I'm Nikki Tomlinson. You can find me on Twitter at Nikki Tomlinson and Instagram at Nikki Tomlinson LA.
Nice. Yes, follow all of us. So another action-packed episode as usual.
Yeah.
We should not expect anything less for the rest of the season. So we're gonna go ahead and recap as thoroughly as possible, but in a timely manner because we want to get to our special guest and all the awesome stuff she's doing.
Yes.
So let's go ahead and get started. We got a lot of backstory this episode, so let's go ahead and start with the bad guys here so we can get them out of the way.
Knock out the
No
bad.
one wants to talk about
Right.
that.
Okay. So let's talk about Terry and his brother Dennis. Obviously, we can't stand them. Since episode 1, they were tormenting the other guys in Quitman when they were younger, and now they're involved in the drug operation. They're still involved with a warden. Let's talk about the flashbacks that we got and kind of how those influence the people that they are now. I think the flashbacks, like we mentioned before, are so integral to the show. What did you guys think about the flashbacks that we saw just from them and their family?
I mean, even seeing the one scene where the dad gets shot because of the drive-by, and you see that Dennis goes to help and is trying to comfort and help them out, and then Terry just books it. No, we need to go now. I feel like that's where you really, really see their personalities and what's more important to each of them.
Yeah, I focused in the flashbacks more on Dennis because to me he seems like he is really trying to better himself. And one thing that really spoke to me was the scene with you actually, when Dennis was talking to you and you kind of your character was saying how he's a good person.
Yeah, Boots.
And then it does a flashback of Dennis seeing himself kind of bullying one of the kids in Quitman. And I thought it was great how he goes, even good people are capable of doing bad things. And I think that sums up a lot of kind of what this show is. And, I thought that was pretty awesome. It shows how Dennis really is trying. You can tell he doesn't want to be part of this anymore.
Yeah.
He's trying to get out. But
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I was thinking the flashback shows so much. Dennis really, even though he's done some bad things, isn't that bad of a guy. And, I mean, even Terry, even though he was involved in drugs, he's bad, but it shows why he's that way. It was definitely because of his past and how he was brought up, and to watch his father be shot like that right in front of his face, that's got to affect you.
Absolutely.
But that wasn't his father.
It was Dennis's
Well,
dad.
yeah, so it's Dennis's dad and not his, which is a good point also as to the difference between their approaches in the situation. So
yeah.
I just want to ask you, working on this, and obviously you already know everything that happens, but we know Terry in particular is just such a bad guy. And we see Annie talking to Dennis in this episode, and he's really sympathizing with her and thinking about that. Do you think there's room to feel bad for Dennis and Terry because of what they've been through, and that's why they're how they are now? Or do you think people like that should just be written off?
Well, I think, speaking from the character's perspective as Annie, I don't think she knew who this was.
Exactly.
I don't think she had a clue. This is just a grief counselor coming from the church, and so she's going to trust that. And so she's talking to him, and she has no reason to suspect that he's anything other than that. From my perspective as the actress, I think there's always so much to be said for where people come from and their upbringing and how they're raised and why they do what they do, which I think is a part of what this show addresses. And so I don't know. I personally don't believe there are bad people. I think that people come from where they came from, and that's why they do what they do today. And so,
and
good,
I'm even wondering too with Jackson, because he kept thinking back, and when he was trying to, find his client not guilty, it was kind of showing like how he may have done some bad things too in his past. Maybe when he was in Quitman, he did bad things as well, but he realizes that good people turn bad when they're there. And you're right, it's definitely keeps recurring over and over in this show.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm glad you brought that up, because that's a perfect segue for the next topic. So we see Jackson and his fiance working on this court case with an 18-year-old who is potentially going to be tried as an adult, which is huge. And so they're working really hard to get the court to make a different decision. And it's great commentary, I think, on the justice system that we have now.
Exactly.
And how so many kids are thrown into these situations that make them, worse people, and they may not have been that way otherwise. What did you guys think about the whole court situation in this episode?
Yeah, I never thought about it before. Now I feel so bad for all these kids that are, going to jail, and maybe we should think twice if it's some little crime. Maybe, they don't really need to go there. But I thought it was such a powerful scene, and Jackson did an amazing job with his speech. I was so moved by it and just very impressed.
Yeah, I was just saying how I thought it was cool because it shows kind of maybe why Jackson is in the field he's in. He feels he can really, help avoid what he went through to anyone that needs the help. And so I thought that was very cool, and that scene was very powerful, and how he said, you're a perpetrator or you're a victim in jail. Like, you're one or the other, and he said no one should have to make that choice. So I think that speaks a lot about the show and a lot of the topics that are discussed.
Yeah, exactly. No, even like what you were saying about how it gives us the insight to the court system, even like seeing that Jackson had to tell Marina, like, we need to humanize him, shows us how quickly it is for just somebody in court to dehumanize him. Like, we see them in the news, we see like these names pass, so-and-so killed so-and-so, so-and-so got caught with like weed or something, and it's like, oh, okay, put him in jail, like they did a crime.
Exactly.
But you don't realize that like that's a person, and they're gonna have to I got passionate about that. It's like, oh, some tears are coming. They're gonna have to suffer like through that and see that. And I love, like you were saying, I love that this show took that, especially with everything going on right now. And it's like, hey, even though you might just see these names on the news, you might just see them on articles that pop up online, like, this is a human. They're gonna go through all these crappy things that might make them into someone worse. But if we treat them like humans when they're in court, they might actually get a chance to live again.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And what's so sad is when we see the flashbacks with the boys in Quitman, you just have to think, like, what if they had lawyers like Jackson? What if they had people who could have helped them? They didn't have that, so their lives were completely different. And just, Nikki, I want to ask you, this is such a character-driven show. What do you think about these side stories that we get that add to the characters that we see? Like the court case, for instance.
Yeah, I love it because I think it enhances the show, and it gives us the world around the show, and it tells us why all the characters are doing what they're doing. And I just think the writers are so good at developing characters and developing the story and really giving the actors something to sink our teeth into, and it just builds the whole world. And I think it really informs the actions and the motives of all the characters.
Yeah, that's what I love about this show. I'm so glad they put so much thought into the backstory and the side stories, and not just the plot.
Exactly, yeah. Because even from the first episode, you're like, I feel like I know these people so much, and all they went through. Like, I need to know. I need to.
It's funny too, because I actually wrote when we were watching, I go, is this Troy case, going to be relevant in the long run? But then I realized, this was just kind of to build off Jackson's story and how he is as a person. And I thought it was kind of cool how we got to see Marina a little more, because until this episode, we knew it's Jackson's fiance, but you kind of got to see her like spunk and her drive, and she's a strong female character, and I liked that too.
I know. I feel like I care for her a little more in the beginning. I'm like, oh, I don't care about her. She's just a girl. Yeah, kill her off. You know. I want him to give it Jesse, but no, I like her. Yeah, definitely. And I feel like with this show, we'll see more and more. Like we see Annie. I feel like we'll see more and more layers as the show goes on. I don't know how much you can tell us, but
Not much.
contracting it.
No, I think there's a little bit more critique when it comes to the systems in place, especially foster care. That was a big topic this week. And so we see Jackson's looking into the PD case a little bit more, and he needs more evidence to incriminate the warden for his murder so he can go to jail. And while he's looking, he finds no death certificate. He finds no foster movement situation. And he actually goes to question PD's foster mom at one point, who tells him her husband went to pick him up one day, he wasn't there, and he accepted money from the warden, basically like easy cash to get out of there. That is such a huge critique on, I think there's been so much backlash about the foster care system in this country, and I think it's very interesting that they put that in there, because his foster mom even mentioned, we had so many kids already, I thought he was better off. And it's already such a sad reality that is the state of our foster care system. But what did you guys think about her role and just the situation of P's foster care history and how that played into the fact that no one knows where he is? It seems like no one even cared until now.
I know, definitely. If he had parents and didn't have foster parents, then it would have been a different story. I think they would have, tried to keep searching. They wouldn't have accepted, whatever happened. So that definitely was one important thing. And I've heard some bad things about foster care, about people trying to get in it just to get money so they don't have to work, and the more kids they have, the better, and the more money they make, and it's just
horrible.
it's such a shame,
Another thing with foster care, I feel like this was a big part of the episode, because we find out, I don't know.
Gil.
Yeah, Gil. I didn't know, I don't know if this is the first time it was mentioned.
I think so.
Yeah. And I think that, again, just the mention of that, and now knowing that, it shows so much more about him as a character, and maybe why, besides Quitman, right? That's the name, Quitman. Okay.
I know, I was struggling last week.
For a second, I thought it was Whitman, but okay. But, maybe this has affected him as well as Quitman did. So I thought that was an important thing to learn in regards to Gil as a character, too.
Yeah, it really struck me when she said, oh, yeah, the warden gave Chuck or Charlie, whatever his name was, money, and then we were just like, oh, easy cash, we're done. Like, I was like, you were taking care of a child. Like, you should have investigated this, found out where he was in the state, at least, like, gone to make sure he was
Someone
okay.
actually just commented on the live chat, which is a good
Hey, guys. Welcome.
It's a good point, too, about when it comes to, like, the foster parents maybe, don't know what situation they're in. Sometimes it's easier to just turn the blind eye. These people are above you. There's really not, depending on the person, there's not much that they could even do. So sometimes it's true, even though it is sad, it's sometimes easier to turn. I agree with that.
And I think but they shouldn't have done it.
I think it says a lot that the warden paid them off. Here's a government figure, an authority figure in charge that told them to go away.
Yeah.
Your kid is missing. Bye.
I know.
I don't think he's missing.
I know.
Yeah,
he's
still
not.
to be determined, right?
Yeah.
Didn't really figure out what happened to PD yet, so I'm definitely
I think
interested
we will,
to see.
though.
Yeah, I think we will.
I don't think they're going to tell us. I think we're just supposed to know.
Really?
I think he's a goner. Poor little
Yeah,
Petey.
just- Good old PD. Distant memory.
I hope we find out a little more, though. Like,
Yeah.
maybe somebody along the way saw his body and reported it, and
Guess
Or
we'll have to
he
find
could,
out.
well, okay, that's predictions.
Sorry,
We're getting ahead of ourselves here. But there's just so much in this episode. Well, we'll leave that at that for now, since we don't know what happened to PD. Let's talk about kind of what Jessie's role has been and what it's becoming. She's starting to ask more and more questions. We see that the detective comes to question her about where Gil was, and his van or his truck and all of these things. Of course, she has no idea what's going on now, but now she's putting two and two together, and she's realizing, okay, these boys are really hiding something pretty serious. Where do we see her role right now as we stand? We find out later on, obviously, she they tell her what's going on because she takes the tape from the safe. So she kind of is very proactive, and she takes the initiative to figure out what's going on because she hates the secrets. So shout out to her, because I definitely do the same thing. What did you guys think about her taking the initiative to find out what's going on, and where do you think that's going to lead as far as her role right now? Do you think she's going to kind of leave it to them? Do you think she's wanting to help, or do you think she's scared of getting involved?
She's going to get involved.
Definitely.
I think it's good that she's involved. I feel better. I want Annie to be involved in all the women, because they're actually like thinking where Gil and the guys, they don't care. They'll just run off and shoot someone or whatever. So we need them. We need like the voice of reason to be out there helping the guys and to save them. I feel like there's going to be some times where they're going to be in some sticky situations, and Jesse's going to come or Annie's going to come and end up saving the guys, you know?
Yeah, I think even in the flashbacks, you can tell what kind of girl Jessie is. To me, I think she's not just being nosy. I think she wants to be in there. These guys are what she considered her best friends. You know, in the flashbacks, you can tell she's just like one of the guys.
That armadillo.
Yeah, she's not afraid to get her hands dirty. So, so I think she's just wanting to help, and she's wanting to be in the loop so she can do as much as she can to help.
Exactly. Yeah, she's definitely gonna get her hands dirty. And I mean, we even saw it in a flashback last episode where her and Jackson were burying someone. So she is already kind of involved without knowing.
Oh, yeah.
And I think she feels guilty, too. Maybe a part of her feels like it's her fault that they were sent away. And,
She
the
does
boys didn't
mention
get in the
that.
car. She's
That's
got
true.
She mentioned that.
There's a lot of guilt with the ladies.
a lot of guilt.
Yeah,
It really is.
Yeah, both. The guilt thing.
That's huge. Yeah, so we'll talk about that really quick. I think it's very interesting to get Annie's perspective on Gil's murder and the whole situation, the crime that's going on, because she doesn't know anything yet.
Right.
So going into this completely blind, where is her head at right now? Is she completely just emotional, or do you think she's looking for answers?
I think she's both. I think she's dealing with the loss of her husband, which is huge, and she's got a baby on the way.
I know.
So that's a lot to take in and try to figure out how you're going to live your life as a new mom by yourself with no husband who you just lost your husband. He was ripped away from you. That's super violent and horrible emotionally. And I think she's confused because here's this new person, Jackson, that she's never even heard of, and she finds the gun and she's piecing together components of her husband that she didn't know existed. And so I think she's confused and she's looking for answers, and she's just trying to deal with this new whirlwind of a horrible situation that she's found herself in. But I think she definitely wants answers, and I think she wants to figure out who her husband was and what his past was about, because she's realizing she doesn't know what she thought she knew about him. And
First of all, you were amazing in that scene.
Oh my gosh.
I was getting choked up. The emotions in that were so real and amazing. And I was just going to say that I think that Annie is going to start trying to dig in kind of like Jessie was, because she has all these questions now about her husband and Jackson, and so it's only a matter of time before I think she's going to start figuring some stuff out.
And Annie's got the attitude, and she's like,
I
no.
know.
It's gonna happen. You're gonna tell me right now.
Annie and Jessie, they are not scared. They're ready to get right in there. I love that about them. I love shows that involve strong female characters and not just always the victims.
And you're seeing that so much more in TV now, which I love. I love that a lot.
And we saw that in the wood scene last week with you and Jessie. It was I loved it. And
drinking the wine.
Edgy mom.
Yep. Sometimes you just need a little wine.
I heard a glass of wine when you're pregnant is.
Oh yeah, we were all. I was like freaking out. I was like, can she have that? Is that okay?
And we're like, it's okay.
Is the baby okay?
as long as it's one glass.
One glass, exactly.
Yes. So speaking of the friendship between Jessie and Annie, last week we saw that Annie is very pro Jackson Jessie.
Yeah.
She wants Jessie to pursue that true love. And in this episode, we see Jessie go to talk to Jackson after she's questioned by the detective, and she finally gets to meet Marina, the fiance.
Awkward.
Let's talk about that tension, people, because it was there.
Marina knew what was up.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna
You
say.
think so?
I feel like that's a woman's instinct.
You could see it in her eyes. Like, I know it was acting, but you could totally see it in her eyes. She was like, client, huh?
Well, the way that Jessie didn't play it too cool. She was like, fiance.
Oh, that hit her hard.
Yes. You know, that
Even
was like,
Jackson said it kind of funny. The way he said fiance, he was like afraid to say the word. Or something.
I thought he wasn't going to say it. At first, he was going to be like, "Oh, this is my legal partner." I was like, "Excuse me, and like, can we finish that sentence, please?"
Yeah, that's crazy, and especially since we know that Jesse has been divorced twice.
Yeah.
Two times.
I want to
since
know who
Jackson
those guys
left.
were.
I know.
Hopefully
So
we'll get some backstory.
I mean, what does that say about not only her character and kind of her development after Jackson left, but what do you think? I mean, well, what does Annie think, or what would she think about this situation with Jackson, who is engaged, and Jesse kind of wondering if she still has feelings? I mean, what is her take on that?
I think that Annie can see that Jesse does still have feelings, but Annie also knows Gil, and she knows their relationship. I think Annie just wants her to not leave the rock unturned. She says in that scene, "I'd give anything to be able to talk to Boots again," and I think she just is like, talk to the people that are here, that are still alive on this earth, and if you have unfinished business,
take care of it.
Take care of it. Talk to him, and you need to figure it out. I think she can see that Jesse's a little tortured, and she wants her to at least address it, at least talk to him and figure out what's going on.
You know what? I completely agree with you. And I have to say, as much as I love Gil, I don't think Jesse is 100% with him.
No.
I think maybe she has been in a series of bad relationships. She was close to Gil. He's there. He's convenient. He's her friend. I'd hate to see Gil's heart broken over this, but I just know it's coming.
I think you can tell she has a very deep love for him. I just don't know if it's that passion. It's not the passionate in love. You know, you can tell how much she, like, all the guys, I feel like she loves them all a lot. But yeah, I don't see the passionate, you know, you can see her around Jackson. She gets a little flustered and I don't know.
Yeah,
but we'll see.
It's definitely cool, their relationships. And just going off of that, I liked the little parts that we got of Sean this week. I think Sean's a solid character. I think he's level-headed. He's just edgy enough to go and do the the hardcore stuff he needs to do, but he still keeps
clean it up.
he keeps a level head. So we got to see flashbacks of him and when he first moved to the town, and he had a really hard time. I'm getting that it was maybe racism. From racism. What did you guys think about that commentary?
Yeah, no, I definitely thought that. And it was so cute because Gil was the only one who would, like, welcome him into his home and become friends with him. And it kind of shows how they have such a strong friendship because of that. And now Sean is kind of like the glue that holds everyone together. He keeps Jackson, on their side and wanting them to work together. And then as far as Gil, calms him down, make sure he doesn't do anything too crazy. So it was so cute that they, show that.
Yeah, and with the flashback and with just Sean in this episode, it kind of shows he's kind of the ride or die friend, you know? He, even if he doesn't agree with something, he has your back. And I think it really showed how strong of a friendship, definitely Gil and Sean, because Jackson's been a little out of the picture for a while, but it shows their friendship. He was there, and I think it was when they talked to Jackson, he's like, Sean, are you, something about, he's like, no, but I had his back, I'm there, I helped him. Like a friend thing. Bury the body. I helped him bury the body. There's some friendship quote about that. And I think that was good how they tied back that how, Gil was his first friend, and that just shows how strong and everything they've been through together. Their bond will be unbroken.
Exactly.
I know to have a friend that will help you bury the body. Or
there we go. That's the quote.
That's the friend there. Yeah.
But even not only showing Gil and Sean's friendship, but I think we even see Sean's persistence, and when he really wants something, it's going to happen. He got turned down by so many people. My heart was breaking watching those scenes. But he was like, I'm going to make a friend by the end of this day, like, regardless of what's going to happen. And I think that persistence is going to help them along with the, figuring out how they're going to get the warden to confess to everything.
And the end, too, the way I loved seeing Sean reach out to your character. I thought that was so sweet. And I didn't know who he was calling, but I thought that was a nice little interaction because you guys kind of had this unspoken understanding of how you were feeling.
Yeah, I think it's nice that those two people can come together and miss someone that was dear to them both. You know, Boots was right there with Sean and Gil and a part of that posse. And obviously Annie misses Boots dearly. And so here 2 people can come together and connect on
Someone,
that and just feel each
asked,
other's pain.
Will Annie and Sean get together?
Well, you know what? Sean was the main person consoling Annie at the hospital.
That's true. That's true. We're gonna no.
I think nothing.
I actually am not gonna lie. When that phone conversation was happening, that someone asked that, but that kind of crossed my mind for a second.
Yeah,
It really did.
All his ladies were calling him. All his ladies were calling him.
The ladies were calling.
Annie is like,
no.
and he was like, Annie, let's talk.
There's something about a pregnant girl.
I don't think I need someone to help raise that baby. So.
You don't think?
No, judging from your reaction, I know you can't, say anything, but I think it's going to be a no. I don't think anything's going to happen there.
Guess we'll have to.
But I know we'll have to
watch.
Yeah, well, either way, it's nice to see their relationship.
Yes.
so.
Definitely.
Yes.
We can wait and hope and whatever. We'll see. So I think the last huge thread in this episode was Gil and Bobby. Oh my gosh.
Gil.
Those scenes were intense. So we finally see Gil decides to go back to Bobby's little fish house at the marina. That's what it's called. Yeah, I don't know. And he wants to confront him since their last, confrontation with the other guys. He wants to go solo dolo with the gun. He wants answers. We find out that Gil actually doesn't remember much from the warden's parties, which is so unbelievably tragic. Even though, it would probably be traumatizing to remember everything, it's still maybe even worse to not remember. But he knows that Bobby was there.
A lot of victims block it out. That's the only way they're able to move forward.
Exactly. And we also find out that he took pills.
Yeah, that too.
So what do you guys think about all of those scenes with those 2 characters? And also, Bobby gives a confession.
Yeah.
He was involved and he lied about it on the tape. So what do you think that's
Well, first of all, I just have to say, Gil came in real hot.
Yeah.
He, I'm like,
as usual.
he's. But I also wanted to say, just before we all start commenting on it, Michael Raymond, the actor.
Oh yeah, perfect.
So amazing. Like the
Perfect
range
casting.
of emotion that he showed in this episode, when he was crying, when he was angry, it was just. I just had to say something about that because I thought that was incredible.
It was, definitely.
Now we can comment.
I thought it was extremely powerful, and I was getting so angry when Gil was getting upset and looking down and holding his gun down. I'm like, no, you cannot do that. You keep holding that gun up. So it kind of was his fault in the end that he came after him, because you can't put your gun down after you've been holding your gun to his head, but you just see all the pain that he's going through. And as much as I really kind of don't want to know what happened, I feel like as the show progresses, we're going to find out more and more about that night, and we probably will find out about the others that this has happened to as well, and really dig very deep into that.
I honestly don't think that Gil went in with the intention of killing him. I know that might be like a...
I don't think so. I don't think so either.
But I think what really drew him over the edge, because we see gajillion gunshots at the end, was when he mentioned the photos. And I think that's what drew him, where he was like, okay, you know what? I don't care. Screw you. I'm killing you, because that is disgusting.
I agree 100%.
All the shame is going to come back to him.
Yeah, I thought that's what drew him to actually kill him, was he was straight up just tormenting him. And I was so disgusted and cringing.
Yeah.
The way he was, it was just, I have, oh my God, ew, written down. I just thought it was awful.
That's so sick. And the fact that he was potentially going to get away with everything that he did, it's so disturbing. Like, how often does this actually happen in real life? I hope not much. But it's pretty realistically written, I think. What do you think about just these experiences that Gil is now having, and how do you think that's going to affect him moving forward if he does start to remember these things, if, God forbid, he sees the photos that were taken? What's going through Gil's mind right now, in your opinion?
I think he's tormented. He, just like you guys said, he knows horrible things happen, and he remembers some of them, but he doesn't remember anything, which is almost worse, because what does that mean? But he's got this rage, this anger inside of him that it comes from somewhere, and I think he doesn't know how to contain it. I don't think he knows what to do with it. He's just like dynamite.
Exactly.
literally exploding out here and there.
Yeah, how do you sleep at night knowing that these things happen to you?
And
I
then
feel so bad.
Also, I think one part too that made him freak out was the pictures of him smiling and stuff.
Yeah.
Because to him, he's probably now feeling like he did something maybe wrong. Like, was I enjoying it? Was I, whatever was happening, I thought that kind of hit him too. The guy's like, oh, you don't remember? Yeah, I don't know. That whole scene was just very heartbreaking. I thought because you see Gil angry all the time, and you really see him just broken, I thought.
Exactly.
And it was...
But I was so proud of him for telling Jesse. He finally.
yes.
I felt like he was worried, like, oh, if he knows, I was raped or whatever happened, she might not want to be with me anymore. And I was so proud of him for stepping forward and saying something to her. And he really needs to talk to someone. He needs therapy.
Totally.
He needs her. That's what's gonna get rid of all this anger.
Absolutely, absolutely. I have a little bit of a side topic. A really good friend of mine who's an extraordinary comedic actor, his name is Amir Talai, has a campaign that he's launched 3 years ago that's coming up on May 1st called Therapy Helped. And it's the hashtag Therapy Helped to destigmatize therapy and talking about therapy
That's
because
awesome.
it's so important. And it's, I think every person on this planet could benefit from therapy. I've been through tons of it personally, and it helps me in my life. And I think it's important that we start to talk about it and we start to take the negative stigma out of it. So jump online, Google hashtag Therapy Helped. He's got a Thunderclap page. And you can join your support, and it basically just helps spread the word. It doesn't cost anything. You just, get connected on Facebook and Twitter and help to destigmatize it. 'Cause it's important.
I think that's a great point. Definitely, they see that with Gil's character. He's ashamed, embarrassed, when it's all it takes is just getting the help that you need and realizing that other people are going through this same exact thing.
Exactly.
But everyone does. There's a stigma around certain things that no one wants to talk about it.
Totally.
Especially as a man, you
Yes.
always hear the
Oh my
woman,
gosh.
So-
it's always women, but it does happen to men too. And
Totally.
seeing that he's finally opened up, I think not only is it going to create obviously more story for him as a character, but I think even people watching it, like if a man has been raped and he's watching the show, I think that'll even give him inclined to dang it, I need to talk to someone right now.
Totally. It's like, mental health is it's so important. It affects everything. It affects our relationships. It affects our physical health. We have no problems talking about our physical health, and we talk about our diets and our supplements and our exercise regimes and the doctors we're seeing. But no one wants to talk about their therapist or,
God forbid.
Yeah, totally. You're the crazy one, which I just think is not true.
Not at
Like I was
all.
saying, we all come from somewhere, and we're...
Exactly. And don't you even feel like some of your acting training was kind of
my
like
gosh.
therapy, depending on what
Totally.
technique you worked with? And
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, and it's so, I mean, I wouldn't be able to do the acting work that I do without that therapy knowledge, because what I do as an actor is break down people and break down emotions and break down where is this character and what has she been through and what influences where she's at now, and that's all thanks to the work that I've done in therapy.
Yeah,
So
that's awesome.
I think
That's a great
I think it's super important.
Yes.
Well, I
agree.
100% support therapy in any case. If you're out there and you need help, talk to someone. Don't let it torment you.
Yeah.
So last but not least, the warden.
Let's
He
get him.
goes to Bobby's boathouse in the marina, and he does not find him. He doesn't know. We find out that the guys hid the body, as you mentioned earlier. That's going to open a huge can of worms. So with that being said, let's get into some predictions and talk about what we think is coming. We never know, but we're going to figure it out.
And now, your AFTERBUZZ TV predictions.
Open floor.
You want to go first? We can go across.
I don't want to go.
I'll go.
She's like, no.
I don't have any. Just right now, I didn't have time to fully think it through. But I have like a couple things that I think. I do think that Annie, the character of Annie, is going to find out more. I think she's gonna get more involved with each episode, and we're gonna see more of her. I think. Well, what I really want to know. This isn't a prediction. What did the warden take off his phone?
Yeah.
Yes.
Was that his
That was
SIM
weird.
card? So it can't be tracked, I think.
Something weird with that. But yeah, nothing. Oh, and something bad's gonna happen with Marina.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He might be hiding in the basement.
I'm
He's still in your house.
I think he put something in the basement, like I don't know.
Something.
Something.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't have any in-depth ones, but Someone else.
I mean, I kind of, or did you, were you? Oh, okay, no, I'm good. Yeah, exactly. I think something's going to happen to Marina, and I think even something's happening to her and not knowing why it's happening to her is what's going to draw her and Jackson apart. Because we even see in the preview there was like a little tension between them. So I mean, Marina's gone. Jesse's coming in. I'm still voting for that. Totally seeing that. And I think Dennis, not to be completely negative tonight, but I think Dennis is going to lose his church and everything that's going on. I mean, it's been ticking and ticking since the last episode. I think if it doesn't happen this next one, it's going to happen in the one right after that.
Yeah, I think they might kidnap Marina or something, or who knows, maybe her and Jesse get all the girls, and Jackson's got to be like, because I think he would have left it alone, but I think now he's got to be like, okay, I need to save her. I'm back in, you know, you got my girl, I got to come back for her, you know?
I agree. That is true. I do think now that those pictures happened that Jackson has to be in. Like, I don't think he has another option in his head.
You know?
Yeah, going rogue.
There's no turning back at this point for any of the characters.
And this is off topic too a little bit, but the pictures, I feel like he was just kind of saying that they have pictures. Would they actually take pictures of the boys? Because if anyone found those pictures,
I think they're creepy enough to
they
do
would
that.
be.
No, I think
They definitely took them, and they're somewhere, and we're going to find out.
Disturbing.
I think so too.
Okay, well, we wrapped that up. We talked about what we think is going to happen, so let's get to our special guest. So just starting off, I really want to know about your starting point in this. I mean, did you always want to get into film and TV, or did you have different career aspirations when you were a little kid? I mean, how did you really go about that?
I majored in musical theater in college, and I grew up singing and dancing. I grew up a gymnast also, competitive gymnast, and my mom was the junior choir director at our church, so I was always in all the like church, Christmas programs and stuff. So I majored in musical theater in college. Always knew that I really wanted to do film and TV, but I'm from Colorado, and that seemed so far out of reach. I didn't know anybody that did it, but if I said I wanted to do theater and Broadway, that was more accessible, and people understood, oh yeah, we understand stage. So I did that, and then, I did a national tour of a musical for a year, which was super fun and awesome. And we finished the tour in LA and San Diego. So I got to spend 6 weeks at the end of the tour in Southern California and realized that I really wanted to move to LA and that film and TV was where my heart was. And so I moved here, and I lived here for 8 years and was pursuing film and TV. And it's hard here. I mean, the competition is no joke. It's thick in LA. And I was working my day jobs, and I would get acting roles here and there and taking my acting classes, and I do stunt work also because of my gymnastics background, and I had an opportunity to go to Atlanta and work on The Walking Dead.
So cool.
Doing stunt work, being a stunt zombie, which is so fun. It's like
cool.
Amazing. And so I went to Atlanta and I did the stunt work there and figured out that so many of my friends, particularly in the stunt community, had moved there, and there was so much being filmed there, film and TV wise, and talked to a bunch of friends and ended up talking to producers and just a bunch of people who said, you should move here.
Yeah.
And so I did. Leap of faith, packed up my stuff, quit my day job, and moved to Atlanta.
Wow.
And and I ended up booking this show from Atlanta.
That's
And
awesome.
I think they didn't know, the show didn't know how big the character of Annie was going to be, which I think is why they cast it locally and they didn't bring someone in from LA. And they loved my work in the pilot, and this character is just one that I can sink my teeth into, and I did, and I think they saw that and liked it, and David Hudgins, who's the creator and the writer, wrote Annie in, which is
awesome.
really cool. It's like dream come true.
Look at you. So much talent. They had to write it in.
How long have you been living in Atlanta?
I've been in Atlanta for about 1.5 years.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah.
that was a great move to make. It got you the show.
It was
amazing.
Yeah, it was. I just knew, sometimes your gut just is like screaming out that you have to do something, and people thought I was insane. So many of my friends and family thought I'd fallen off the deep end, and I said, no, just wait. I know this is right.
Yeah.
I know this is where I need to go. And
Yeah. Well, speaking on that, was there one role in particular that you can think of, even if it's this one, that really made you think, I am doing what I'm supposed to be doing? This is my calling.
I've always known. I just have always known. I mean, this role for sure. And it's so funny. I knew even before this role, you know, in LA, I was going out for co-star roles, which are the small, like, you know, one-line roles. And my manager and I kind of like butting heads because I said, I'm just not that actress.
Yeah.
I know that my first big thing is going to be a bigger, meatier role, and it's going to be a drama, and I just knew it. And he was like, yeah, but you got to start somewhere, and you got to book 5 co-stars before you can move up. And I was like, I just think you're wrong. Totally. I just knew that drama was where I would end up really like breaking in, I guess.
Yeah.
That's so inspiring. Thank you for following your heart.
Yeah. We love it.
Yeah.
Such a good example for others.
Can we dig
you.
in a little bit to the audition process of what it was like?
Yeah, totally. Well, in Atlanta, most of the auditions you do are self-tape, which I actually
interesting.
love. I think it's fantastic because I can do them on my own schedule. I'll get an email from my agent that you have an audition and it's due in 2 days by 4 o'clock. Great, I've got 2 days. I can do it at midnight if I want to do it. I can do it in 10 minutes, whenever. So I love that. So this was one of those auditions. I was working on a show in Louisiana at the time, doing some stunt work there, and the audition came in, and so my boyfriend at the time and I drove back from Louisiana early to put it on tape, and I was exhausted because we'd kind of driven through the night, and I was like, well, it kind of works for this character. I mean,
She's pregnant, tired.
totally, she's pregnant, she's tired. Her husband, at the audition scene they gave me was when we're at the hospital and he's just been stabbed, and I don't know what's going on, and it's just a mess. And I had that, and then I had the scene when he's leaving for work. So I had the two contrasting, like, everything's great.
Yeah.
The, you know what, has hit the fan.
Things horrible.
Yeah, and so, you know, I put them on tape and forgot about it, just like you do, and got the call from my agent that I had a callback for it, an in-person callback, and I was like, oh, that's awesome, and I had to like look it up on my computer. Which one was this again? You know, and I saw pilot for NBC, and I'm like, my heart starts to flutter, and I see guest star possible recurring, and my heart starts to like get really excited. But it was one that I loved. I loved the scenes for. I could just drop into the character easily, and so the in-person callback, I went in and it was David Hudgins and the director of the pilot, Niels, in the room, and the casting director, Mark Fincannon, and it just went really well. Yeah, and I could tell, I finished the first scene, which was the like casual scene, and they said, okay, now how about the second one? And I took a moment and did the work I needed to do to get to where I needed to be, and did the scene, and I finished, and I remember David and Niels both like clutching their chests.
Oh my gosh.
And Niels said, can you do it again?
Oh my gosh. Got it.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Did you like in your gut when you found out you got this? This is a huge network drama. Were you just
I
like,
was
this
like-
is incredible?
Bouncing off the walls.
Yes.
Yeah. So excited. But then, you never know if it's going to get picked up and if it's going to go to series. And I didn't know how much my character would be in it. So I was just thrilled to book the pilot.
Yeah.
So yeah, I, did that. That was amazing. And then my mom happened to be in Atlanta when we found out that we got picked up.
Oh my
and
gosh.
Celebration.
Totally.
So
Like
cute.
there's sort of dorky
That's
pictures of me
perfect.
online in my T-shirt, like celebrating.
You gotta call your mom first, of course.
Oh, totally.
That is so great.
Now, you do stunt work, like you were saying as well.
do.
Not only acting, we have a clip of some of your stunt work. Your reel, I think you said, from 2009.
2009. This is a really
Yes.
old
So
stunt
that-
demo.
Let's see it. Little clip.
I know, I'm very impressed.
Okay.
Now this is impressive. This
we go.
is the real deal.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
She took the fall.
That's so cool.
I did.
So you definitely are very experienced in stunt work. Just
Look at you.
Yeah,
So what makes you wake up one day and say, I want to do stunt work? I mean, you get so many bruises and scrapes. I mean, does it have anything to do with your background in gymnastics?
Yeah, that's totally why. Yeah, grew up a gymnast, and so I was working at Six Flags in Denver, Six Flags Elitch Gardens singing and dancing. And I had some friends that were in the Batman stunt show. And so I went and I watched the Batman stunt show. And I was like, that looks awesome. Yeah. That looks like so much fun. Wow. I can totally do
That's
that.
awesome.
And then I found out they were getting paid more than I was getting paid. And I was like, well, it sounds like stunt work is what I need to be doing. And
That's
so,
crazy. And then kind of, I know we talked about stunt work, but you did mention a lot about character description and how you had to get into the role for the audition and stuff. What did you write, what did you add to Annie that really helped you engage that character that maybe the directors and the writers didn't mention in the original character description?
Ooh, that's a good question. Wow, I don't know. I feel like the writers are so good, and what they have written is just so informed. I really just delved into where Annie would be with a baby on the way and her husband in this situation, and she's lost her husband and she doesn't know who he was, and I don't really know. I mean, I just put myself in that position. How would I feel if I had a baby coming? That's scary. Having a baby coming is scary when your husband is alive and well.
Oh, yeah.
Let alone your husband's been murdered. But before that, he was arrested because he beat up a guy on the street, which is so out of character of anything I've ever known that he would do. And I think she's just, her world has been upended.
Well,
What do you
whatever you
draw
did, whatever you did, you killed it. You are perfect for that role. I think we can all agree that you're amazing, and we cannot wait to see what else is in store for Annie this season. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to our recap tonight with special guest Nikki Tomlinson. So amazing.
We wish we had more time.
Tune in again next week, same time, same place.
Yep.
You can catch up with all of us on Twitter and Instagram. Keep the conversation going. I am your host, Miaira Jennings, and you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Miaira Jennings. Thanks, guys.
And you can find me, Leslie Ambriz, at In Less Than No Time on Twitter.
You can find me at _Abby Vega on Twitter and Instagram.
And I'm Nikki Preston, Nikki Preston TV.
And Nikki.
And Nikki Tomlinson, at Nikki Tomlinson on Twitter and at Nikki Tomlinson LA on Instagram.
Well, we hope to have you back. Thank you guys so much.
Back.
Bye, guys.
Bye, thank you.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.